Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm excited to be here.
We're always so happy to have you. There's a lot to talk about, but first,
Yes.
you celebrated a milestone birthday.
Can you believe it? I am 85 years old.
Wait, no. Oh my God, wait.
But I only look 80. No, I'm 60. Can you believe it? I'm
60.
60.
You look fantastic.
I still think I could compete in the Olympics.
You do, yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be close, but no, I'm 60 years old, and my body's falling apart, but I realize I'm delusional about not appearing my age.
What does that mean?
I just don't think I look my age. Like, I went to dinner with my 3 college roommates.
Yeah.
And after the meal, we took a picture, and I was emailed the photo, and I was looking at it, and all I could think was like, how is it possible that these 3 guys look like crap, and I haven't aged at all? I mean, it's...
Yeah, I know.
No, I mean, these 3 guys, they looked really old. And, I look like, what, 20?
Yeah.
Right? And it's sad because, like, it almost looked like I was photoshopped in the picture. Like, if you didn't know any better and you looked at the photo, you'd be like, who's the young man with his 3 gay dads?
Yeah, of course.
What an adorable blended family.
How is the fam? How is your family?
It is great. By the way, how old are your daughters?
They're 13 and 11.
Oh, it's gonna get much worse.
It's just me 13.
Yeah, I have 5 children, aged 13 to 22. I feel like I'm living in a psych ward. There is so much drama and conflict in my home. If my house was a neighborhood, it would be a bad neighborhood. There, like 22 years of parenting, it changes your perspective. Like, I used to hear about solitary confinement and think it's inhuman, and now I'm like, sign me up.
Wow.
Alone in a room, how would that be punishment? You know what I mean? But I know my kids, they would get to me, they'd bang on the door, they'd be like, we need your credit card information. What's grandma's maiden name? Did you have a pet growing up? When is your birthday? It's just, teenagers are tough.
Yeah. Would you ever change anything about how you parent teenagers versus when they were younger?
Well, I would have introduced alcohol earlier. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, when you're growing up, you're like, why is dad drunk? It's you. You're the reason parents drink. And by the way, I understand there's some people watching that don't drink, but you can come on back. No. The thing is like, you've got to, your daughters, you're going to have to adjust your parenting style.
Okay.
Because it's like, physically, they're larger, they're intelligent. You have to engage in almost a diplomatic peacekeeping mission. Right? And each teenager's different. Some teens are like Russia, hostile for no reason at all. Some teenagers are like China, an emerging superpower that speaks a language you do not understand. And some teens are like North Korea. You're just trying to figure out how you can stop them from blowing up your world.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
I should point out, all those observations would have been more funny if we hadn't bombed Iran. But if you're lucky during this diplomatic peacekeeping mission, you'll have an ally, a spouse or a partner.
Okay.
And occasionally you'll look at that partner and think, I chose the wrong ally. I think they're a double agent. They're working for the Chinese government. But when they're teenagers, you have to use the limited tools at your disposal. You have economic sanctions. You can limit their communications ability, but in the back of your mind is that last resort, murder.
No.
And you don't even think of it. Like, your brain will suggest it. Like, why don't you just kill him? And you're like, no, I would never. How would I get away with it?
How would I get away with it?
Anyway, I love my kids.
I know you do.
I do.
I know you really do.
And, like, they're just always challenging. And I understand that it's developmentally appropriate for teenagers. They're stealing my all right? And I've told them no. Yet every day I wake up, I'm like, why is my son wearing my coat? What is my 16-year-old daughter doing in my blue jeans? Where are my socks? Why am I sticking this gun in my mouth?
Yeah, these are common questions. Yeah, absolutely.
These clean comedians are boring.
Yeah. They're taking your stuff?
They take, by the way, last summer, my hiking shoes went missing. I have 2 pairs of hiking shoes. I don't hike. I just like these shoes. They provide good support when I do something strenuous like walk, right? And I was doing shows, I was gone for the weekend, and my eldest brought my 2 youngest, 13 and 14-year-old boys, to this sleepaway camp. And apparently at this camp, they needed hiking shoes, so naturally they took mine.
Yeah.
Now you might think, oh, you guys all have the same shoes. What a coincidence. We don't. Not only did they take shoes that didn't fit them, for some reason they only took 1 shoe from each pair. I was just relieved it was a left and a right. And they were at camp for 3 weeks. And during that time, I missed them. But I also missed my sons, And then when I went to pick up my boys, I hugged each of them. And I was like, where the hell are my damn shoes?
Yeah, of course. That's the first thing.
And they both said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I didn't pursue it, because when you have teenagers, there's always 3 or 4 ongoing cold cases, right? That you instinctively know will remain unsolved.
Yeah. Jim, your tour, by the way, I know you're acting. I love your acting as well. Big fan of yours, all the stuff I saw you on SNL. But Gilded Age you're doing.
Yeah, doing the Gilded Age. I'm playing, thank you.
Congratulations, that's fun.
I'm playing Grover Cleveland.
Hey.
Grover Cleveland, everyone's favorite president. Grover, that name kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
Right? There's President Grover Cleveland, then Sesame Street Grover, and I think that's it.
Yeah. But you're currently on your big stand-up tour. Everything is wonderful.
Everything is wonderful.
Through the end of the year, what was the inspiration for the title?
Well, the thing is Jimmy, everything is wonderful. You know what I mean? Like, there is only good news. There's just optimism everywhere. No, some of this is just like, when people come to my shows, they just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's really, this is kind of a sarcastic take on we live in pretty interesting times.
Yeah.
It's why people love you and your show, is that people can have fun in these weird times. Anyway,
we need you.
A great time.
No, you're one of the best to do it, buddy. Jim Gaffigan. Oh, he's funny. For tickets, go to Everything is Wonderful. Go to jimgaffigan.com. More Tonight Show after the break, everybody. Come on back.